Hi everybody, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and the next part of the Eduard 148 scale BF 109E3 Weekend Edition. So next up for the kit is decals. So I've got my water here, nothing special, just the same water that's been in that jar for months. Doesn't smell weird. And then I've got my microset, my microsol, and my decals. So the first decals I'm going to do are just the ones that are general to the aircraft. I need to put the Balkenkreuz on the upper wings. I'll do the lower wings, and then I'll move on to some of the side stuff. I've got my instructions here for what I need to do. And I also have my general instructions for just the regular stencils and stuff, so I'll have to pay attention to that. It pretty much tells you what stencils go on here, but I'll have to possibly use some of the ones from the kit supplied decals. But we'll see. So let's get cracking. Now, take note that I am leaving the slats in place because these decals may overlap the slats, and if they do, I have to leave them in place. Then I'll carefully cut them once they're installed and dried. Then I can break the slats loose and put them in the proper position. So the first thing I need to do is the wing upper surfaces. And I'm using the larger of the decals. So let me get those cut out. All right, so I've got my microset in place, decals loose. So let's put it in place. Now, this does not overlap the slat, according to this illustration I've got over here. But it basically lines up with this panel line and the bottom of the slat, but I'm going to pay most attention to that panel line because it doesn't butt right up against it, but is just a little bit, oh man, a little bit off of it. This is hard to do with the camera over your head. Okay, let's see. Now, hopefully these decals will work out well. Okay, that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do next is take a handy dandy cotton bud and try and mash out some of the water or the decal solution. Now I really hope these decals settle in once I put the microsol on there, because these decals seem a little bit thick. I will be sore displeased if they don't conform very well and if they don't snuggle down into all that awesome detail. That looks amazingly crooked. So try and get it to float up. There we go. That's better. Tell you, with kit supplied decals, it can be a real crap shoot if they're any good or not. Sometimes you'll get some really good decals, and other times they're just horrendous. And I hope this isn't one of those times. And decal's already started to tear. That actually looks pretty good. So let me try and get this thing squished down again. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Yeah, it looks good. So we'll let that dry for a little bit. Now, let's see. Let's go ahead and put the micro sol on here. And I hope this is enough. Hope this stuff's strong enough to get that decal to sink into the rivets and stuff. All right, so we'll let that sit for a minute and get the other decal going. All right, so the decal's loose, so let's do this other side. Same thing, goes in this area here. That's too much fluid. All right, so let's get that. I bonked this camera, guys. Sorry, but it's kind of hard maneuvering around it. Okay, same thing. Let's get it positioned. Wow, much better first time around. Get my cotton swabby here. And one thing that's nice, I mean, I don't know if these things are going to work that great, but they don't have much carrier film, so that's kind of cool. So putting the micro sol on this side didn't seem to do much, so I'm going to bring out Mr. Solvaset here and see if this can get him to snuggle down a bit. See if that does anything. We got that side. Let's do this side. All right, let's let that sit for a bit and see what happens. All right, you probably can't see it, but after the dose of Solvaset, bingo, we got some serious decal action going here. So I'm going to get my little handy dandy rack thing here. Check and make sure that's not going to touch the decals. Put that on there. We'll put the decals on the bottom. Alright, so same thing. I'm going to do it on these two. And I don't think I'm going to video both, because this will get boring really fast. But it generally goes in the same place. Now this is the one thing that's bad about having a glossier surface. And that is trying to put this kind of stuff on there. It just really beads up. So I'll put this decal, these other two decals on, and we'll move on to the rest. So while I have this upside down, I'm going to go ahead and get some of this masking tape off of here. Like here. This one. The masking tape here. And here. Masking tape here. I'll tell you what, masking tape's a magical thing. Except when you get it in a spot that's hard to, there we go. Like that. All right, so it's all the masking tape on the bottom. So these need to finish drying. Now see, you can probably see that the it's sunk into the details. So microsol was the trick. All right, so the next, not taking that off because I still need to put a clear coat over everything, so no masking tape coming off there yet. So the next thing I need to do, so this sheet's pretty much done. Next thing I need to do is put the decals on the sides. So I need to see the stencil data. Actually, before I get to the side decals, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the what's referred to as the Parisian Mouth, whatever that is, which is why I picked this particular decal set. So I need to trim that out first. Now, looking at these decals, there's not much carrier film around the edges, and they seem to be really thin, so I'm going to cut these out. Now the smoke coming from the cigarette is over there, but you put that on after you do this part. So I'm going to cut this out, and I've got it upside down so it'll be closer to me, so it'll actually be installed upside down. So let's let that soak for a few minutes or a few seconds. All right, so the Parisian Mouth is loose from the backing. So let's put some this here decal set on here, micro set stuff. And then try and do this. Okay, the upper part of the lips is pretty close to this opening here, so Let's get as close as possible, because I don't know how these things are going to behave or how fragile they are. So that looks pretty good. Now the real trick is seeing how well this will conform to the contours. Oh, not bad. Wow, quite good actually. So that's actually on there really good. So I'll put my Solvaset on there and get that baby to snuggle down. Don't get too much, not necessary. We'll let that one cure up good. I'm going to put another coat, thin layer on these wing decals just to make sure they do their duty. Sink in. Now all this is going to kind of homogenize once I put the clear coat on it. And hopefully that will be sooner than later. My supplier, the place I usually get this stuff from, is of course having shipping delays, so it may be a bit. So I may get all these decals done and have to set this thing aside. Till my clear coat comes in. But the way I've been posting these, it may be a non-issue. I may get it before I ever get to posting these parts here, because I'm trying to do a little bit at a time. Trying to get this where it doesn't puddle up quite so much, because what I was saying, it'll make everything kind of come together. So we'll see. So we'll let that one sit up for a minute. All right, so I got that done. So before I do the smoke, I'm going to let that dry further. I applied another little bit on there, and I have to just be careful that I don't stick that part on the stand here. So next I need to do some smaller decals. Now I've got them all right here. They're all kind of tiny, and we'll see what goes where, let's say. Now the instructions state what stencils were present on the real aircraft, so that's what I'm going with. So first we've got this one here, this thing here, which goes right there. So we'll put that one on first. So if I can find my knife laying around here somewhere, we'll cut that like that. And we'll get it in the water. Get that ready. Now I have to say that I am stoked with these decals. I was afraid that they were going to be a bit thick, but they're not. And they're working really good. So let's see. Solvaset is some wonderful stuff. Okay, so I've got all the decals on. They've all snuggled down nicely using micro set to put them in place, solve set to get them to conform to the details. Now the next thing I need to do is on these aircraft where these decals here go, they're supposed to have a colored background. Now apparently what they've done with this decal set is, depending on which aircraft you're doing, the backing may be a different color. So in order to save having to print so many of these, it's clear around the inside of this shield and you just paint it. So they provide you with these cool background masks. So what I did is I just got some of my Tamiya tape, laid it on there, traced it out, and made myself a stencil. Ta-da. So all I have to do, now in my case, the bird, it is called actually a Chamberlain Raven, actually goes directly between those lines. So all I have to do is, hopefully you'll be able to see me doing this, is line it up. I'm going to measure first and make sure it is that size. So that measures approximately 9 millimeters, just a little tiny bit less. And that is perfect. So all I have to do, and I need to get it, I need to, let's see, utilize something so it's about the same on both sides. So I'm going to do that right there. That looks pretty good, but I'm just going to double check it. It's kind of hard to tell with shadows and such, with my poor lighting and the way I've got this angled, but that looks pretty good. All right, so put that in place like that. And then I've got the prop and spinner done. Now I don't like this big seam here, but you know what, I'm not going to mess with trying to fix that, because it's pretty far off and that would take an excessive amount of work. So on the bad side I'll just kind of put down, and the rest it'll just have to do. Call me a slacker if you like, I've got no problem with that. So that looks pretty good, because in the illustration it looks like this bend right here where this corner's cut off this shield kind of lines up with the top of the Balkenkreuz, and that's about the way I've got it lined up there. So that should do. Now the next thing I need to do, I'm just going to stick this on the front. I'm not going to actually, you know what, I'm not going to do that either. So there's a few things I have to do. So I need to spray that, and it's RLM 71. And then I need to spray a little bit of marking on here. It doesn't specify how much, but there is, let's see what it says here. Yeah, it says the yellow spinner is misted with RLM 70 or 71. I'm going to use 71 since I'm using it there. I won't have to mix up any other paint. And then I need to very carefully get some RLM 71 in this decal. And I'm going to have to be very careful doing that, because it's going to be quite precarious. but that's what it calls for on that, and then on the white part of the Balkenkreuz to tone it down. So I'm going to get my RLM 71 here, shake that up. Okay, so we're ready to go here. Now I'm gonna have to be very, very careful when doing this stuff here because I don't want to overdo it. So first let's do the spinner to see how this is gonna spray. And it doesn't really give a very good illustration of it, but just shows a little smudge kind of on one side of the spinner. So let's see. I got nothing to go on here except for guesswork. All right, that'll work. So now let's spray this. I'm not going to worry about it being too solid. And now for the really tricky part. Oh man. Okay, I'm stoked. So there you go. So now all I gotta do is do it to the other side. Alright, so this paint has had a chance to dry and the decal is ready to go. So just need to put some of this on here like that. And get the decal on here. Like that. And let's check the alignment here. Wow, crikey. Right on. Maybe a little bit of adjustment. To the left. There we go. And then get a fresh cotton swabby out, since I got lacquer thinner on that other one. And we shall. Wow, that mask worked out really well. Right on as far as the size. Oh man, that looks good. I like that. I'm stoked. Stoked. All right, so let's see. Let's put a little bit of Solvaset on that. Then on this side, the last decal I have to put on is the red cross on the compartment where the first aid kit is, I guess. Which I've never really understood, because it seems like it'd be really hard to get to it if you needed it while in flight, but you know, maybe they were trained to do that, especially. I don't know, that must be really good. So anyway, I'll do this one. All right, so we got that decal on. You got some microsol on it, so that is ready to go. So all the decals are done. So the next step will be to do some detail painting. I need to paint the tail wheel. I need to paint the exhaust. Need to paint the gun barrel tips there. And that's about all the detail painting I need to do. So we'll let that dry a bit and then take a look at it. All right, so the decals are settling in really nicely. These last few that I put on. So like I said, the next thing I need to do is do some detail painting and stuff, but I don't want to do any of that until I know these decals are settled in the way they need to be, and that everything's really dry and handleable, if that's a word. So for now, I'm going to end this video, and next time when I come back, I will, and hopefully you'll watch, I'll start painting the details, get that done, and then we'll be ready to do a clear coat and start doing the final weathering. So that's it for now. On Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. Thanks for watching as always. And do you have any hints, tips, questions, any of that kind of stuff, put them in the comments section down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.